Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our first episode of the Spiritual Bro Show. Well, we wanted to begin with a bang, and indeed we have managed to secure an incredible guest. Frank, welcome. We honor your time and we're delighted to have you with us. So please introduce yourself to our wonderful audience. I'm here with my esteemed colleague and brother, Drago. We welcome you.
Hey everybody, I'm looking forward to all this. Frank and Amir are legends, so let's see where this goes.
I appreciate it. I feel so honored. I love both you guys, and I was telling you before the show that I've had a half dozen people ask me because there's been a lot going on, a lot of traveling, a lot of exploration. I've been putting them off because my book is going to be out in June, and I was kind of waiting till I had some more information on it. And you just happened to catch me before I woke up. It was like, oh, I love these guys. Sure, I'll do it. And I realized I'm going to be in trouble with a few people, so hopefully they'll forgive me. But I'm really honored to be on your first show. Thank you. I want to just jump into because you guys are the people I can talk to about this. Okay, so in the news, we've been talking about. We've got the vice president talking, and a lot of the conservative evangelical Republicans talking about, aliens as demons, right? Now, I've heard this for years. It comes out of the South too. The evangelicals talk about this a lot. Now, there's a lot to that, but something that just happened, and I didn't grab a picture of it, which I'm realizing right now, but I'm in Mexico with Trevor Grossi, and he's pointing to me a church, and he had told me about it, and I was like, it's an abandoned church. It's like in Mexico City. It had been taken over by Satanists, and they had done a lot of ceremonies there and opened up something, right? So there was a man who was working there, and he encountered a gray who told him never to come back. Okay. Now, the exact circumstances, I haven't actually double checked with Trevor on this, but I don't remember. He was either a maintenance guy, or there's some reason, or he was interested, or he was studying it. And so he did come back. He goes home, and the gray appears in his home and said, I told you not to come back. And his infant was on the couch in the room, and the infant levitated to the ceiling and then came back down, and then within 2 weeks was dead. Now, we got a Satanist, we got a church that's been desecrated, we've opened something from someplace else. We know that going way back, these dark ceremonies bring in entities. And so this is one of the kind of first times that I've heard, a gray associated with something that's, a ceremony, a dark thing, a satanic thing. I just wanted to throw that out to you because this is something that people are talking about right now. And we associate the grays with spaceships and abductions and being controlled by taller beings, or being insectoids make them as a clone, as a cybernetic being, and blah, blah. But this is a whole different context. So I kind of wanted to throw that out to you guys and just get your information or ideas or impressions or whatever you have to say.
Well, Frank, this actually was the modus operandi for communicating with multidimensional beings throughout human history. One of the positive examples, usually you would find a elevated cliff near the ocean, so elemental forces are present. It would be a small kind of intimate temple. Priests would go light a fire, portal would open, and dragons would come through. And so these benevolent dragons were teachers and guides. Very, very small durations of time. They would give answers, guide the priesthood, and help humanity. Now, that hasn't been possible since the last fall of Atlantis. But the mechanisms are still there. Again, we're going through a time where the vibration of the collective and the health of Earth is going to such a level where this kind of technology is becoming viable again. Now, it's an unfortunate fact that it's being used for evil, but it is also possible to use it for good. A hammer is a tool. You can use it to build a house or smash somebody's head in. But it is tied with the multidimensional nature of us, mighty humans, and this technology. We don't have to own it. We are this technology. So it's very much so linked to our consciousness. I think we're going to see more and more and more and more. We better get ready.
So we have access to like the bad multidimensionals, the bad guys. I know like part of the research I did for my book was I had to come up with metaphors, because when you come up with these incredible numbers, you just it goes right over your head, right? So basically the metaphor is that you take a beach, and as far as you could see, that beautiful beach goes out, that sand is as far as you can see. And you take one grain of sand off of that beach, and that's all we're really perceiving of what goes on around us. And it's not that we're as blind. I mean, animals see more. There's, dogs see ultraviolet, snakes see infrared, and it goes back to, I've got a whole premise in the book about that. The Tower of Babel was a point when we were dumbed down, we were blinded, and we were made to, we were hijacked in a lot of ways and made to given a lot of extra challenges, right? So what I think, with this new part of the galaxy we're moving into, with the new energies, and also the human evolution, how the consciousness is rising, these veils are going to thin, right? So we're going to be seeing more. We've got more orbs, we've got more beings, we've got more transdimensionals, and they're around us all the time. It's just that we're not all of us are seeing them, right? So this gets, I don't mean to run on, but I just relating this to something else is that I'm seeing everywhere. I've been in a lot of places now, and I'm seeing snake, naga stuff everywhere. And the feathered serpent, the nagas, the seven-headed serpent in Cambodia, in Egypt. I was just talking to Yosef Badaway's father. His name escapes me at the moment, but when he was a child, he would be able to sleep on Giza Plateau and crawl into structures and sleep. And he woke up to an energetic, etheric snake. And the eyes were glowing, and he kind of just intuitively knew that it was a protector. And he said, I'm not here to hurt anything. I respect this place. And he was like left alone. Isa, Shanban, Isa, I was just down with them, and she was on a dig in a cave. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later with Trevor, and she heard a snake, and there are poisonous snakes there, and so they froze, and there was nothing, and then next they uncovered was a snake artifact, and so it was like an energetic but also a physical representation of this guardian, right? So I know that in Peru, we've got these caves where villagers go, that's for the snakes. We don't go there. And they're too small for people to go down under the ground. So what I'm getting is that there is a whole host of probably entities that have to do with serpent, snake, that are not necessarily corporeal in where we're at right now, might be 45D, that are here and have been able to be encoded or enlisted, or have either had agency to take over guardianship of important things, right? So anyway, I just kind of want to throw this out there as one of the stories to kind of help us open the subject of, as this veil thins, we're going to be encountering especially people that are sensitive, people that are seeking things, people that are going to these places for ancient knowledge. We're going to be encountering things that we're not used to seeing. And the main thing I want to say that I tell everybody is, this makes it really important. It's always been important to keep your protective no fear, right? You are part of the divine spark. You You are allowed to protect yourself. You don't have to fear any of this stuff. You have just as much reason and agency to be here as anything else does. And so as these things are starting to appear, as orbs are showing in the sky, as ships show up, as this glowing being shows up in your backyard, as you hear a snake, inside. I also want to say the word faith is a spell. I would like to erase the word faith. It's not faith, it's knowing. You know that you are part of the divine spark. The word faith has been used against us to take our power away. Anyway, I want to throw that out there, and I would like to get your comments on any of that.
I would like to say that I'm glad you brought that up, because if you think about it, everything we've ever discovered on Earth, Mars, all these other planets, it starts with the reptilians. They predated most of the humans on these planets. They were here establishing genetic experiments and terraforming planets for their own self. So these deities appearing in historical books is a very common theme. Yeah. And a lot of people, they fear this whole reptilian thing, it's like a narrative that's been pushed for so long, and they don't realize that there's also this benevolent kind of directing of the human species, and we can't fear this. Like the Nagas, they're very evolved people, half human, half snake, and like they've been depicted in so many movies across time, like even The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy. And it was like an introduction into the ancient mysteries and the occult studies, and like you start seeing that these reptilian beings are the ones basically directing humanity from behind the scenes. So when people like you, Trevor, Sean, Bon, and Issa, you go to these ancient sites, you pull out all this reptilian symbolism stuff, they're basically showing you that they're one of the main progenitors of the entire human race. So like, wow.
This does go back a very, very long time. And so before physical life became possible, initially, the inhabitants of Earth were elemental, dimension 4, 5, and above. So they existed before physical life was viable. And then if you look at the energy structure of the human being, it's almost like there's a physical overlay upon that ancient energy structure. So many healing modalities that work on us would also work on them. And so this is also reported from shamans all over the world. That not all of their clients are human. So you may get them, and the species change. In Mexico, there are a certain group. In the Middle East, west of Asia, north of Africa, they look different. New Zealand and Australia, they look completely different. Europe, we've got the pixie and the fairy and so on. So they're very distinct races. In India, we have the Naga, but a whole variety of different elemental beings. Now, I love, Frank, that you said, do not fear. This is so true. Fear really is a biological response to ignorance. What if? What if? And so we have been here. This project of creating humanity from life starting on land has been going back 350 million years. Here we are. And so we have earned our place in this environment, in this atmosphere of multitude of species, physical and non-physical. So we have built-in defenses. We are not in danger. If we exhibit fear, we may trigger a predatory reflex in many beings. If you run, they have to chase. So have no fear. And another thing that comes in really, really handy, humor and good manners. Everybody understands it. So if you can make the being laugh, you've already won its favor. And if you are polite and genuinely inquisitive, this is also something that comes in really handy. Now, the human brain is magnificent, but many of these beings they have higher IQ and they are fast. So if you are slow and you are dumb and you are rude, that's not a good recipe. Maybe we are slow and dumb, but at least if we have good manners, they'll give us the patience that is required for some sort of communication to take form. And we're remembering this. Frank, you said the Tower of Babel. Yes, sir. That's the damage to the heart chakra. Not understanding soul language or light language. And we're regaining this level as people go into, let's say, 5D consciousness, becoming aware of more. This is coming back. We're right at the cusp. It's such an exciting time to be alive.
So um, the whole issue of, okay, we're gonna get into some Anunnaki here. So a lot of this comes from I'm gonna try to like not name names, get people defensive or whatever, but okay, so we have a lot of people out there that are being celebrities, and they're telling us, okay, I'm in touch with Anu, and I, I'm the Anunnaki talk to me or whatever, right? And I was I've been witnessing this because I started my channel. I had been a celebrity, in the 80s when I was a kid, and I really was not looking to be in front of people again, but I've been kind of getting pushed into this whole new thing, right? And it's been so far, it's been wonderful. I've been meeting amazing people. But one thing I noticed, and this is a metaphor that Praveen Mohan actually helped me notice too, is that, Buddha never wanted a statue of himself. There was this abstract form that he wanted to represent what he was doing, because he basically was a master. He didn't want to be worshipped as a god. Same thing with Isa, Yeshua, not Isa, Yeshua, Emmanuel, the people called Jesus, but another master that was again turned into a god. And these guys are just like, what are you guys? Well, I'm just teaching you, don't worship me. It's like in Egypt when these temples were so powerful that you had to be raised and have an energy pure enough to be able to survive them as a priest, to be inside. And so when they needed to heal somebody, they would charge a gold object, and then send that out to heal them. And then people started worshiping the gold objects. They're like, no, don't worship the gold object. That's not, and it seems like there's something that's innately hardwired into humans where we always have to anthropomorphize or create this thing. We can't have an abstract understanding of the divine, right? And so this happens with celebrity. This is one of the things I didn't like about it when I was a kid, because people think they know you, they think they understand you, they have a relationship with whatever that is. And I see this, like Praveen and I were talking, because I said, I know you get this a lot, because people will come to you and expect you to solve things, tell them things, whatever, when the whole message is everything about being in this realm is like figuring out yourself. You're that extension of the divine spark out there to learn for yourself, not to follow somebody who's a celebrity on YouTube or whatever, right? But yet there are people whose egos need that, and they survive from it, and then they end up having to feed the beast of keeping popular. I was just talking to Julie Ryder at Montana Megaliths, and has to fight these people off all the time that want to make it their story, right? It becomes something that is that runs them and owns them. And I was talking to Trevor, we're both saying, like, we never want to have to be the guys that have to have a video every Tuesday or Tuesday and Thursday with something, and we're recycling and echo chambering stuff. There's just so much coming in anyway, and it takes you out of the rhythm of the universe and the way that it's feeding you the information anyway. So, I mean, they end up with, they've got bills to pay, and they've got a staff, and they've got to get their, I have sympathy for that. Maybe they get in the middle of it before they know what's going on. And maybe I'm just lucky enough that my life is abundant with other things that I don't have to depend on that yet. Both of you are in the same position as what I'm talking about. People come to you. I know this happens to you guys, and they expect you to think for them, to do their spiritual work for them, to tell them what to do. And so this is a message for everybody out there who is, we've been at this a little bit, right? And we maybe can help and we can guide, but we're basically here as a master would be to help, because we would be removing your divine original uniqueness that your spark is supposed to experience, right? We would be robbing the divine of its opportunity. So anyway, I would just want to open that up to you guys because I know you guys encounter that as well.
Yeah, basically removes full autonomy of the soul to basically worship another false idol. And this is why in Egypt and during the Roman times, a lot of this worshiping false idols was banned. Yeshua literally said, you should not worship a cross. You should not wear a cross because the cross is the symbol of a slave. And everything we're doing now, it's like AI is becoming the new false idol. Everybody's worshiping the AI as if it is a prophetic god. And you're right. These disclosure celebrities are what's wrong with the world because a lot of these people are suffering from V2K. No, they're not doing individual remote viewing on themselves with teams that are good looking into, is this information coming in as a form of manipulation? And they're just latching on to it because everybody's addicted to new information. We do the doom scrolling. We have it is a drug addiction. It is a modern drug addiction to be addicted to technology, and that's what the cell phone is. I find myself doom scrolling constantly because, like, as humans, we crave emotional connection. And what it's doing is it's programming us to reject emotional connection because there's no emotions involved in it. And just like you said, these people, I consider them the old guard. It's time for the old guard to disappear into the past. These people, the gatekeepers, the people you're talking about, these are gatekeepers. Saying the Anunnaki has left is asinine. Saying the Draconians have left is asinine. It's just not based in fact. And what's happening is I feel that it's a psyop to trap people, to put energy as like a collection device to help kind of create a different timeline or to pop a large part of the population into that timeline that they're trying to deceive us. All these timelines are operating full spectrum right now. So it's like the Mandela effect. You convince a lot of people something is real, they will shift their energy to that timeline and experience it as fact. So like that's where we are. We got to get rid of this old guard, this whole disclosure celebrity stuff because like people like me in the SSP, I will never be a disclosure celebrity. I tell people I am not an expert on what's happening right now. If you want the newest information, I'm not going to be the person to make all these predictions. I'm just not going to be. There's 1,000 people that are doing that. I will never be that guy. I'm not interested in that. If my content ever evolves into something like that, it never will. Period. It's just not possible. So again, that's where we're at. It's the false idols. We're worshiping the celebrities, the elites. We're worshiping these people as gods, and we were all lied to. We're finding out through the new E-list that a lot of these people are really dark, connected to children things, and like it's out of control. We have to take our power back and stop worshiping what we were perceived as gods because we have to see that we are God inside ourselves. Trust our own knowing. Stop listening to everybody's information and go inside for the first time. That's what we lost.
You gentlemen are awesome. You see this thing about following. It's hardwired into our biology. Herd mentality. So in large groups, we follow the leader. And so this would be reflected in large patterns of migration. Whether it's a bird or whether it's bison, they move across vast distances. That's that mechanism being triggered and utilized now towards control. So if we are operating at an animal level of consciousness, this is our behavior. And so getting out of that happens very conclusively with the creation of art and beauty. So if people want disclosure, the first thing that they need to do is exercise their ability to create beauty, poetry, dance, music, calligraphy. So this is where we evolve out of that animal consciousness. And then the next thing that is the prerequisites to be human is shedding victimhood. taking control. We are the ones doing this. And so if you are blaming and shaming others and not taking responsibility, you're not raising to that level. So creation of beauty and taking responsibility in your sovereignty and what transpires, that's the way out. Then we get to the heart. And that's when the magnificent woo-woo starts happening. The floodgates open and you become aware very, very rapidly. Oh my goodness, life is everywhere. And so this is where we are. People need to work a little on themselves, take care of their body, take care of their food, take care of their emotions and thoughts. So if we operate at animal consciousness, we can be herded like cattle. This is the unfortunate truth about the vast majority of our species right now. They are acting without any awareness. As Drago said, in the goddamn phone, they walk right in front of a moving bus. An animal, that would never happen to them. So many of us are operating sub-animal, unfortunately. So this is a time of change. And so messages like this, emphasizing the value of your sovereignty. As Frank beautifully said, do not look outward, it is all inward. The master you seek is you. So this is where we are going.
So I'm making notes because as you both talk, I just get 70 more things. Just want to mention really quickly, I have a whole section in my book because I think Mandela effects are really important. What I use them for is you've got a lot of people. Part of what the whole first part of my book is for people that know something's going on, but they can't quite put their finger on it, right? So literally you guys can skip the first like 90% because you know that. But basically it's taking them things they're going that they can look up themselves, like, what? I didn't know that. What? This is true? What? And by the time you get through that, it kind of just like, because we're just so on purpose kept busy. We got to pay the bill. We got this. We got a blue screen flicker on every screen we look at that's been built in. That they've known from the beginning is addictive and tiring, right? But they make money with eyeballs, so there's been no effort to deal with it, nothing to legislate it. I do want to quickly say that the only positive thing I've heard about this addiction to phones and screens came from Nassim Haramein. And normally I can't talk about anything I talk about with him, but last December, we'll talk about this in a minute. He has a whole new attitude. He's going for it. He said that when you're not dealing on a verbal level, you're dealing with an intuitive and, let's say, telepathic level, it's a lot of information at once when you're dealing with, say, someone who's non-human, who's very intelligent, right? And it's overwhelming. And part of what's happened with the phone screens is to help us evolve and make our brains able to handle a lot, right? Because I was like, what are we going to do? These kids, they're wiring their brains, blah, blah, blah. And like, you give a toddler a phone and then you take it away and they destroy the house because it's such a strong addiction. It's like, it's an evil thing to do to a child, but anyway, that's the only positive thing I've heard about this. And it kind of makes a little sense, right? But there's an emerging technology that's e-ink that does not have the flicker to it, that people just on the few prototypes they've been able to create, you can't tell the difference. There's all kinds of little problems that have been solved over the years that make it possible. And people say, yeah, they can put it down. They don't have the tug. There's not that feel, and it's not tiring to them. So anyway, there's hope for that. But I also wanted to you touched on art and beauty. Okay. You can't, speaking from, okay, I don't want to talk about why I'm saying this, but speaking as somebody who might have information on universes, right? You can't have a universe without beauty. Okay. And beauty and the creation of beauty and art is one of the most sacred things we can do as a conscious being in this realm. And it's not seen or valued in the way that the critical importance that it has, right? And part of that, definitely want to get into this discussion. Okay, so the entire civilization since the last reset, since we had a cataclysm, and let me tell you, like, nobody can argue with me about the things I've seen. People that have dragged me through, like geologic features and things that I've seen. There's just you have to be like this to not realize what's happened, right? When I went to Piedra Negras with Trevor and Marco Vagato has a book about the stages of Atlantis, and I had never thought of it in that way, about that they had resets themselves before we came on the scene. There was this highly advanced culture. Like, it's, people can debate Atlantis all they want. You follow me for 6 months and you will have no question. With your own eyes, there's just nothing that can explain what the things you can, when you go out and see it yourself. Pictures don't do it, So there's a historical record for this as well. But basically, and I don't have the entire timeline down, but at some point between these cataclysms, like there was the first cataclysm, I think, caught them by surprise. I don't know whether they did it themselves or not, but they were like, when they came back from, they were like, look, we could lose everything. So they started recording stuff, right? So that's what these Hall of Records are for. This is what I'm doing everything I can to help Trevor Grassi on, is his quest to open these Hall of Records that we've got, basically all we got left is Edgar Casey, telling us like where to look, right? And we think we found pretty sure, I know, the one under the Sphinx. They've been monkeying around, and who knows what happened there. It should be energetically protected, but they left three. One's 2,000 feet under the ocean, but the other one is Piedra Negras. And before I get to that, Marco Vagato we were talking about this, and he said that at a certain point between these cataclysms, there became a breakaway society that became very dark, doing dark rituals. They were doing DNA experiments. They were making animals for like sexual reasons. They were doing chimeras. And just from everything that I've learned, everything I've researched, I believe that the last cataclysm, the positive guys ended up having to go into either hiding or were pretty much taken away. The bad guys took over. They're behind the scenes. They're running everything now, because ancient Egypt, everything is netters, which is nature. Everything's based off of like incredible mastery of this realm, of the light, of the sound, of the resonance, of the energy and at a level we can't. We're just starting to maybe understand a little bit of it, right? Everything about today's world is the opposite of nature. Wear rubber on your shoes, cut you off from that. Put a roof over your head, don't see the stars. Don't go outside. Breathe this air, drink this fake food that has nothing to do with water or animals or fruit from trees or whatever that's manufactured. It's cutting us off. It's basically, for lack of a better way of saying it, satanic, right? Satanism to me is basically trying to blind you, cut you off from everything that is provided there naturally. We've created a whole. I'm not going to blame us. We've been put into this whole trajectory of fake, artificial cut off from who we really are. And there's enough of us that are intuitive enough that we're not completely blind to what's happening. But basically, even the entire economic systems, I'm not saying like any one is better, communism, capitalism, blah, blah, blah. But basically, basing everything on growth and this is going to meander a bit. Like, okay, you walk through the Egyptian, museums, the old one, the new one, whatever, and you're looking at these figures and you're looking at these statues and you see this clothing, you see these headdresses, when you realize that that represents thousands of years of human civilization, right? Right now in Chile, they have entire deserts covered with designer clothing that they've dumped because they have to have the next spring collection, the next fall collection, and it never rots because it's plastic or whatever, right? And it's changing all the time. I was talking to Mohammed Ibrahim. I said, it's just dawning on me how many thousands of years we're looking at, and it's consistent clothing. The styles are the same. It's a whole different way of thinking because they worked. Right. And then I also look at the clothing too, and there's a whole nother study there of the geometry of that clothing and what it's doing. I mean, it comes down to, okay, I have NDAs here. Okay. Okay. So Nassim Haramein's got papers coming out that basically kind of unify physics. And I don't want to violate anything, but basically it comes from geometry. Everything's geometry. Everything is geometry. I mean, it's like it's all the same particle. It's just the geometry of how it assembles, right? And so that said, I think that as we awaken, the more we see the spell of the artificial and reconnect with this reality of the natural, but we are. I mean, the thing is that ultimately, this is another. I spent a lot of time in my book proving this for the very skeptical. I have 3 editors. One's a very skeptical physicist. One's a grandma because I wanted grandmas to be able to read it, and then one's esoteric, kind of, like one of you guys, right? And it was the biggest thing to get across to him that there is no doubt we are not natural. There's just, I mean, you got a list of anecdotal stuff like this, but we have scientific proof. And I actually had like smoking gun the gene splice, but the guy didn't want to ruin his life, so I kept it secret. But I have other data too. So if you understand that we are completely artificial, we have just been created here. And then also understand that that those manipulations are not anything to do with who we are, and that basically we've been dancing on these strings, right? It's boy, I was going to save this for later, but okay. So I've been in all these places. And I'm looking at these reliefs that are ancient, right? So we don't even know how ancient some of these are, and all of them got a bunch of us humans down there, and we're like fighting the battle, and they got this like God up here, and he's directing, and he's got these other big beings with him, whatever. And this is everywhere. This is Samaria. This is Cambodia. This is Egypt. This is anything where the stuff has survived. We're seeing this. So these motherfuckers that have been controlling us for all of these years, messing with our DNA, turning us up, turning us down, like they can go to hell, right? Yeah. We have agency. We need to take it over. We don't need to be waiting for somebody to come down and save us and to worship them. This is our time. We're directly connected to they made a mistake. They left us connected to the divine spark. Bang. We have that. And so we have agency. We can manifest reality. And this is also a part, I spend a lot of time in the book helping people understand that it's scientifically provable that what you focus on, it creates, it pulls things together. And if you do it in a group, it pulls it together. The problem is right now, the field of everybody, and it's been controlled by the massive media, the celebrity, the politicians. Once we understand that that's a control system, we take it back, and it doesn't take a lot of us. Anyway, that was a long speech, so I'm gonna let you guys jump in.
Very, very powerful. It's that which once you see, you cannot unsee. There's so much distortion and propaganda and crazy making stuff, but once you have, let's say, this connection to an aspect of the divine, that mystical experience, then there's no turning back. Then you're set on your journey. And so the book that you are bringing forth is doing this in a very powerful way. You see, certain types of knowledge is eternal. Last catastrophe was the Ice Age, where most of the wisdom keepers and shamans, they starved to death or froze to death. Immediately as civilization is reestablished, humans start downloading the same shamanic practices, that eternal wisdom. We are never cut off. So this is our way out. The problem with our society, our civilization, is that we have forgotten about our connection to spirit. These are higher aspects of the self, but the beloved divine at the very core of it. And that's our way of liberation. So, on behalf of all that are going to be reading your wonderful book, I'd like to say thank you. This is a massive step in the right direction towards our awakening, our liberation. So those that have been riding us, treating humanity as cattle, their time is up. We see this in the world around us as they're losing access to our energy. You see, once you are awakened, you're not going to volunteer your life force to a parasite. And this is happening in larger and larger numbers. We see the desperation and chaos showing itself in the form of war, chaos in the so-called financial system. This is all parasitic. It's all zeros and ones. The amount of global debt is like 50 times the combined GDP of all nations on earth. It's nonsense. It's just a mechanism of control keeping us running on the treadmill, while the true definition of abundance is to have free time to do what you love the most. That is true abundance. How many of us are truly wealthy? I think the three of us here have a good measure of this. So the survival part, how much food do we need? Right? How much stuff do we need? Once you are healthy and you are well taken care of, then the rest should go to doing what makes your heart sing. We're getting there. We're getting there. It's undeniable, Frank. As the vibration is going up, the new humans coming in, they are entering human bodies in a more healthy way. They are more tapped in. So part of my career was a teacher, an educator, both university and school. These little guys, oh my God, they are tapped in. And this gives me so much joy. Things that would affect us, our parents and grandparents, these little guys are immune. So all in all, we are moving in the right direction. There is so much hope. So that's my spiel on this.
Frank, you mentioned sacred geometry. That is one of the most important fundamental aspects of this holographic matrix, because that's how they control us. Different densities have different levels of geometry that are not discovered through other densities. So our platonic solids is a simple level of geometrics that we've discovered, and we can't discover these higher geometries because this universe is hexagonal tesseract based. So that means within that tesseract, you have all the lower geometries, kind of like Metatron's cube. So all this, it all connects. And this reminds me, all this kind of segues into what you said. You mentioned the headdresses and the clothing styles, and I realized they got to a point where they were creating so many hybrids that humans, they didn't like seeing these hybrids over time, and they kept rebelling. So I think it was right before King Tut, a lot of these beings, they were depicted as pre-Adamites, extended skulls. That's why their headdresses, it was designed in a way that it actually hid their extended skulls. And I did a couple of past life regressions, QHHT style, on a couple of clients. And I did some research into this and found out we were lied to about history. The Sphinx came up. I was doing a regression on a soldier, a friend of mine. He's a high-level soldier in the military. And it turns out the scene opens up. He's the son of King Tut. Now, that doesn't make sense because they said King Tut was a disabled kid that died at a young age. But according to this regression, and this was not an imprint, this was a direct Akashic connection, meaning that he was the son of King Tut. His name was Seth. And he described that all his other ancestors, they all had extended skulls. And they had to hide that fact and kind of change and do more hybridization. So they end up getting rid of this really big extended skull. And that's how the Anunnaki comes into play, because they are an Anunnaki. The Rothschild Rockefellers, you have someone like Jacob Rothschild. He has a slightly protruded extended skull if you see him from the side. And a lot of these bloodlines, they have this kind of phenomenon of this extended skull. And during these couple of sessions I did one of the queens of Egypt. Again, this was not an imprint. This wasn't a borrowing of the story of the Akashic records. This was the direct being who was one of the queens of Egypt. And the reason I'm mentioning both of these characters, one of the queens of Egypt and Seth, they both said that there's two sphinxes. This whole second sphinx thing's coming up. It's written in different archaeological records and no one ever seen it. But according to what they said the Sphinx was in the distance, viewing it from the pyramid. And from that position, they said there was actually terraces on the pyramids too. It wasn't just solid, smooth limestone. It was for the Anunnaki elites to oversee Egypt as like a citadel almost. And she told me that when she would look from this terrace, the Sphinx was way in the distance, and she had never left the compound of the pyramid to actually explore this second pyramid. So, like, think about that. And like the going into the extended skull stuff, this is where like the mitre hat's coming from for the Catholics. They wore the extended skull mitre hat, the worshiping of Dagon, which is basically Enki. A lot of the Satanism and a lot of these things we're tying together, it all kind of comes back to the Anunnaki. And like this is what the problem is. They took over this planet, they usurped us. The Anunnaki never left, because if they did, humans, we would be free from this mind programming. We would be starting to wake up. Their technologies would start disappearing because it would no longer be authorized to be here. So that's kind of my input in all this. But again, the geometry is everything. That's it. If we started university and we went into sacred geometry in ways that's we go outside of Plato and what he's discovered, and we start running these models, scientific models, we can start discovering these higher geometries. And when humans discover them, because right now they're known in the secret societies, they're passed on occult word of mouth through Freemasonry, different secret societies and mystery schools. But when we discover those, we're going to understand that all the pyramid complexes are portal systems all over the planet. And you can portal from one pyramid to another. And that's what one of the main features of what they were used for. It wasn't just for initiation and all this other stuff. It wasn't really even really used for communication like they said they do. It was literally to access the grid's portal systems. And that's why water underneath a lot of these places around the world, the water amplifies these portal energies. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
If I
Okay,
may
so I mean,
just
like,
quickly jump
yeah, go
in,
ahead.
you know, this whole thing of left-hand path practices, Satanism, and so on, it can be described under the umbrella definition of rejoicing in the fleshly life only. That there is no more, it is all physical. And so people that follow this ideology, they're not stupid, they're intelligent, they've got legacy, and they create systems. And so you see the accumulation of wealth, cruelty towards our fellow human beings, cruelty towards nature, and a greatly imbalanced system. And so the opposite of this is connection to source, coming to realize this undeniable truth that the soul is eternal, that we have reincarnation. It is not all physical. It is just a place of experience, expressing the divine spark, and accumulation of wisdom and knowledge. You see, these two modalities, they change the way we behave very greatly. So are we living under a system? With that definition, it can be called satanic. The more money you have, the more value you have. It doesn't look into higher qualities, knowingness, compassion, healing, evolution, and so on. So these things do come in cycles. The grand cycles that have come and gone repeatedly. Now we're at the depth of depravity. There has never been so many slaves on earth. The inequality is out of control. The way that we have abused nature is madness. But we're now going through a period of transition where this darkness, this focus only on the physical or the third density is going away. We're remembering. And so after a number of, let's say 2, maybe 3 generations, we're going to enter a long-term golden age, the Satya Yuga. Hopefully this time it's going to be permanent. So it's just a matter of expansion of consciousness, that we are not just the physical. There's so much evidence towards that. So that's the first step. The mighty human is not just the body. We have entanglement of consciousness. Healing can occur back in time, forward in time, and across vast distances. We are non-local. There is such a thing as telepathy. There is such a thing as remote viewing. You see, the proof is in the pudding. Now, if somebody is asking for physical proof of that which is fundamentally not physical, they'll never find it. But the experience can be shared. Once you see, you cannot unsee. And that's the way forward. People have to actually pull their weight a little bit. You know, you have to do some work, meditate a little bit. And so that's the way forward.
So I'm just making my list here. Secret societies, geometry, portals, remembering Satanism, physical. Okay, so there's a bunch here that I want to address. So, okay, when you come here, you forget everything. So you think this is all there is. And you think that mastery, getting money, having success, being, worshipped, being looked up to, having control here is everything. So if you look at it from the idea of, okay, a fallen angel is not a god, but yet these people that have succumbed to this satanic, ritualistic, dark way of obtaining material success in this realm, when you talk about selling your soul, it's not necessarily the way you think of it in a movie, but basically what ends up happening is you can end up being an immortal being in this realm, and you're trapped here. Because this is not all there is. This is just, and after a few millennium, it gets really boring because you've kind of played it all out, right? And so, and you've given up your chance to be a part of the divine creation that's going out and learning about itself all the time. It's like the genie, there's always the jinn, there's always a trick, right? There's no free lunch. You can come here and have it all be so easy. I remember growing up, and I would end up in these programs for they'd pick kids to go, gifted kids or whatever, go do things, and I would be with these other kids. I'm thinking, like, what's he doing? Oh, he's the lieutenant governor's son. And these like elite entitled kids were always arrogant, kind of dumb, never had to really figure it out on their own. I mean, I would rather be in a foxhole with the maid who's cleaning my room than I would with any of them. We've got a real opportunity right now with these Epstein files coming out, because people are seeing the shallowness, the desperateness, the evil, and the thing. Okay, the most incredible expression of the divine is a child, a baby. Yet we've got one of our major religions telling us that we're born with original sin, right? It's these inversions that go through everything in society that turn around, even in the languages, are starting to be recognized, right? I spend a lot of time studying ancient languages, because what happened was when I went to Guatemala, and I had some Mayan elders, and they have pieces of their culture still where when they're doing ceremonies. I ended up doing 3 different I got some pictures later of 3 different Mayan fire ceremonies, which basically you're spending hours like making a beautiful thing. You're putting flower petals down, you're creating an artistic thing, and then you create a fire, and then you walk around it and you create a vortex with the fire, and then that's a portal to the ancestors, and you can talk to them anyway. And then during that, they're saying what's remains of their Mayan language, and then we're in the museums and we're talking about the Mayan stelas and the language. And anyway, so like ancient Greek, ancient Aramaic, ancient Sanskrit, Mayan, Celtic, all of these languages are not like our language today. They were much more complex.
They're
If you
easy
were going to be
languages.
if you were going to be a master of ancient Celtic language, it would take you like 14, 18 years of study to be able to do it, because there was all kinds of things encoded in it. And of the people, of the few language, and these languages just didn't go away because they weren't efficient. They were stomped out. You were burned at the stake to get rid of them, right? They would take over countries and kill everybody to get rid of these languages, because the ones that have survived, when you hook people up to brain scanners, the brain lights up in a whole different way. It's like it goes in 3D. Right now we're on this, and it's not our fault, but this is what's going on. It's everything's true, false, debunked, and we know this is actually, let me use this as a way to talk about the actual message of my book. When it comes down to it, was I realized that my book would have been unnecessary if these ancient languages had not been rubbed out, because what happens is we are equipped to see things in a whole different way. But this control system, the way we're taught from day one how to understand reality, is the control system. And the book the reason there's a patent, I don't know, we haven't talked about this yet, but I had to file a patent before my book came up, because it's a fundamental restructuring of how we handle human knowledge. And it's based on nature, because this is going to help me with my elevator pitch, because I haven't really started promoting the book yet. So you guys are first, so it might be a little rough. Let's see where we go. Okay, we all know things that we were told were true that we now know are false. And we all know things that we were told were false that we now know are true. And even in physics, they have things that they call constants, and they measure everything against them. These are constant. We can use these, right? Those change under conditions. The speed of light was one of those. Well, that changes near the accretion disk of a black hole, and it might be a relative thing, but still it's a change. When water boils, can change at different elevations. These things are relative. So nature isn't a straight line, yet we're taught everything fits along this line. And if it doesn't fit in that line, it's an anomaly, it's pseudo, it's, something's wrong, whatever, right? It has to fit along that line. But nature doesn't work like that. Nature works like, so I basically, what happened was, I'm jumping ahead a couple things, but and trust me, I'm not smart enough to have figured this out on my own, but these artifacts we're going to talk about, I think this is where this came from. But the most ubiquitous and fundamental shape in the universe is like a donut, a toroid, right? So imagine, okay, a knowledge structure that's toroidal. It has an open center. Nothing goes in that center, right? Because as the system is now, if something is, it's proven wrong, it's false, it's, whatever, it gets discarded, it's lost. We don't have the telemetry tapes from the Apollo missions. I mean, that's a bad example, but things just get pushed aside and lost. All human knowledge, all learning, even when it's wrong, is of value, because it has a logic structure. It could be a cautionary tale. There's all kinds of things we can learn from it. And also sometimes those things end up being true. So a system that disregards and gets rid of that is just fundamentally not the way the universe works. It's not efficient. So imagine this toroidal shape, and let's use colors. So every idea, everything we've ever thought of goes up there, and it's dark blue, goes on the outside of that's blue, and as it goes towards the center is red, right? Now, these ideas, as another idea maybe corroborates it, replicates it, relates to it, it shoots a neuron across, and they both pull in a little bit closer, okay? And then as another one, maybe relates to it, becomes somehow supports it, it shoots a neuron and pulls it, and they all pull in a little bit redder, right? Now, these things have weight. So let's say, and you can change it for yourself, right? So for me, if it's Johns Hopkins University, I think that's CIA University. So I put a little bit less weight on that. I've got evidence on things that I think are very sketchy that have to do with Johns Hopkins University. But so from my personal one, I can weight that a little bit less. But let's say if it's something that's been completely replicated in a blind study and that people didn't know about it, I'm going to give that a strong number. Okay, now as those things happen and pull in, we also have to realize that we're a sack of water walking around, not perceiving 99.99999% of what goes around us. We are biased. I don't care what you say. Everything about humans and human knowledge is biased. And to ever say this is unbiased, this unbiased, that is just false reality. So only by acknowledging bias and using it as a tool can we understand our reality, because this is what we have. We have to be able to start poking out of this little blind spot we have and figuring out what's going on, right? So biases are built into this as a tool. So let's say I've got I can make this it can be flat, it can be an app, it can be an augmented reality, it can be around me. So I'm seeing this around me, and okay, I want a Great Pyramid. Okay, Great Pyramid is a tomb. Okay, so let me look at all of the things that relate to it being a tomb, and they're out there in the dark blue because they don't really make a lot of sense. We've got this document and we've got this, and everything's kind of like it doesn't really tie to the facts, right? And so, but it's up there and it's blue. And maybe a couple of things corroborate. Oh, we found this list of workers, whatever, but we don't know whether that's a remodel or whether that's building it, and it's kind of unrelated. And we found some graffiti, but that doesn't really mean much, And then we put up there the pyramid is a machine. Okay, so then we've got that theory, and then we have the materials, and they're piezoelectric, and then we've got look, we found the water does this when it hits it, and when water moves through these kind of stones, it makes a charge, and then we found these scans, and then all these things start corroborating, pulling in, right? We've got and all of a sudden, this becomes redder and redder, and that blue stays out there, right? So then I'm going to put that through a mainstream academic narrative bias, right? So maybe what happens is it becomes a little less red. Then I put it through an esoteric bias. Then I put it through a structural engineer bias. Then I compare these, and I can look at them. And I'm not saying that I have truth. What I'm saying is I have better data, right? Because everything is dynamic, everything changes. I mean, when I go from being, remembering that Luke Skywalker said, this, and now he says this, we know things are changing, right? It's dynamic. So our knowledge systems have to be able to respond to that. So I've literally been able to turn this into a mathematical formula, which will make you dizzy to look at, but it can be all done, right? And so it can be, so the next thing after the patent application gets approved, as I have to start making the softwares and doing that kind of a thing and making it go further. But what I've noticed is just in reading through and describing it and giving metaphors for how it works, like, we got a waterfall and we got the, describing how knowledge works, is my brain started seeing things like this. So it's not even really necessary to even go to because everybody thinks now that AI is going to save us, but AI is basically built on our mainstream understandings, our control systems. Basically, all the Satanists that have been running everything and controlling us have put wrong information in there and, corrupted our physics, I mean, Jeffrey Epstein had every physicist from Harvard out to his island. There's a reason for that. Physics is, let me give you a quick physics thing here. Okay, so dark matter, string theory, complete bullshit. Nothing proves it. They've got literally, I don't know how many hundreds of millions of dollars in books and people being taught this crap. And basically what it is we have 94% of the universe we can't account for. So they took spackle You know, and if you had a hole in your house where the hole was 94% of your house and you filled it with spackle, you know what kind of mess you would have? That's what they basically did with physics, you know, and everybody just pretends that, oh, we're going to find this someday. We're going to figure it out. You know, we're going to like, you know, oh, we found dark matter. No, you're never going to find dark matter because it's BS, because they don't want us to see what the real root of of reality is. Anyway, so that's what things like this structure, you put physics up there, you're going to go, whoa, there's something wrong. You know, you're going to see it in 2 seconds. But this is the way that our brains used to work automatically. So in order to kind of like help this patch over this control system, this is a not only a visualization, not only a software, not only a augmented reality, whatever. This basically breaks the matrix. Okay, so I've been sending the patent application out to a few people. I said, you know, if I disappear, let's make sure this stays around, because that's it. It's over. Okay, and I don't know how long it'll take for people to understand or see it. But I mean, I had on one of these trips, one of the guys with me had worked with Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer on as Microsoft was starting, right? And he wasn't a pivotal guy; he just worked there, right? But he's high level guy who deals with coding and stuff. And I sent him the patent application because he let me have a look at it if you want me to go over it. And he got back to me and went, "Oh my God!" He goes, "You realize what this could do for like commodities and stock trading and for blah 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 and for global?" I said, "Dude, that's all true. It works for everything. I just did it to break the matrix." Okay. So what that other stuff will be fine, and that'll all happen. But the most important thing is that we understand that everything that we're doing right now is, we're not going to get where we need to go by doing the same thing over and over again. Right. And, all the answers are there. They've just been occluded. And so these guys that I want to get back to this secret society thing too. And I'm sorry going on, but okay. So I've been at a table with a 33-degree Mason, and they're not supposed to let you know, but you know who I know, and if I figure it out myself, I haven't taken any oaths, right? So fuck off, I'm going to talk about it. And so this person was bragging about they had built a restaurant. It was the most popular restaurant in the city, and he had done some things to make it. He had just hinted about it, right? I said, oh, like sacred geometry and your orientation, and did you do? And I started rattling off things because I had just done this in a building that I had created at the campground. And he looked like he had just gotten the worst stomach ache ever, and shut up and didn't talk to me for 3 days because these guys hold this stuff. This is stuff these are things that have to do with fundamental, easy little things we could do on every single structure on Earth to make everybody happier, healthier, less stressed. I mean, okay, let me give you a quick example. Is every wall in every place is straight, right? You go to these ancient temples, these ancient sites, there's no straight walls, okay? That wall might be straight, but this one's different, or it's curved, right? Because what happens is, I mean, unless you're making a resonant space and then you tune it, right? Yeah. When you do that, you ever been in a small kitchen with 5 people and you're talking and you can't even hear each other because it's unpleasant, right? It's creating standing waves. And it's not only the sound waves, there's other waves that build up as well. All it would take is that wall straight, but this wall here, just kick it out an inch. The pictures still hang straight. Everything looks fine. And then that wall straight, that one there, kick it out a little bit. I did this in my studio and in my house because recording studios all have, their walls are not parallel. And so it started when I did my recording studio, and I had an old house that was just, 100 years old. Everything had to be replaced. And I just told the carpenter, I said, okay, this is what I want. Just make the wall this, and of course I used Victorian wallpaper that had this incredible pattern. So my wallpaper guy had a nightmare, but he made it work. Right. I can have that house. It's a tiny house full of people, have music on, smoking lasers and have a party. I can sit and talk to you. You can hear me perfectly. The music sounds beautiful. There isn't that feeling you get Anyway, that's just one small example of how this geometry, sacred geometry, all of these things, these secret societies are holding to themselves, to me, is a crime against civilization. All right, I'm sorry about the monologue. Okay, I'll let you guys go.
That was beautiful. Drago, do you want to add something, or may I jump in?
Why don't you go?
Okay, so Frank, you're talking about the toroidal field, and then different points of data from going through different biases that may become mutually supportive or contradict each other. This is what you just described is one-to-one corresponding with the structure of the universal Akashic network of information. And so it has a capability to heal itself. Really fascinating. That's something that exists and vibrates. It never goes away. And so you're kind of dipping into some very ancient, profound knowledge. As a result of the control system, the Earth Akashic records have been badly eroded. They're notoriously unreliable. But as we go up into the galactic scale and the universal scale, they become pristine. And so here, it's like you are opening a window for the light to shine in. It is fundamental to the construction of a universe, very, very elegant, that this distortion, or let's say boxing in this straight line, it takes an immense amount of energy because it's going against divine flow. So one thing, as more of us awaken, this source of energy is diminished, more light is going to come through. So what you are doing and what wonderful people like you are doing, I'm not even going to go into the soul history and who we really are and so on. You're just putting a little hole in the balloon. It's the spark that starts the fire. It's beautiful to see this. So these records, like we talked about the Ice Age shamans dying, but then they downloaded the same pristine divine knowledge of healing, how to be in harmony with nature and the elementals and so on. Everything is like this. Nothing goes away forever. And so now, as the control system is losing its oomph, the light is coming back. This is destiny. So you may kind of wonder, okay, what was this whole shit show about then? Why? And so that is, again, for the purpose of experience. We humans, we're having the last laugh. Because in this incredible toughness, we have become the diamond, under pressure and under heat. Constant bombardment where we don't remember who we are, what our gifts are. We're bombarded by trauma and abuse and so much hardship to evaluate ourselves, to gain wisdom and grow. So this is the way I'm seeing this movement forward. It is time. You being here, doing this, it is not accidental. Thank you, Drago, for your patience.
Time is an illusion. I'll make a couple of responses, but I want to focus on you, Frank, and I want to get to some of these discoveries and start doing some screen sharing because I know you prepared a lot of material to show us today, and it's very important. I don't want to waste that time, so I'll just say that going back to ancient languages, I study the etymology of words. Just like you said, Sanskrit is an ancient ET language, and this is why these languages were illegal to learn. Only the secret societies and the bloodline-born priests were allowed to speak these languages. So when they were around regular people, no one knew what they were talking about. This is why they outlawed reading. You weren't allowed to read. It was actually against the law, punishable by death. And we were talking about the splitting of groups into groups, and that's how we kind of separated from source. And that's what they were doing in Atlantis. They created all these separate groups, and they would separate it on different islands because there was different islands of Atlantis. A lot of people don't talk about these different islands of Atlantis with these different. You had the Enkites, the Enkilites. You have people worshiping Thoth because Thoth also helped run Atlantis with his father Enki. It goes so far back, and when I was at the Temple of Edfu, it was a past life. I was a bloodline born priest. I was Anunnaki. And these languages of the ETs, we were not allowed to speak them in front of other people. We only spoke these amongst ourselves because they had power behind the words. They were literally spells. We could hypnotize people with these words because these original etymology, these root languages, you could hypnotize beings. You can cause them to go into the astral state. That's what I was doing at the Temple of Vedfu, which is also the Temple of Horus, which is also the Temple of Thoth. But one of the things I did was I helped remodify the imbalance of the divine feminine that was taken and destroyed by the patriarchy of the Anunnaki and the Draconians, because we stopped worshiping the females, and that goes into inversion with the prior conversations we were having. And that's where in the programs, the SSP, we refer to it as classified physics. We keep this from the public because if we released it to the public, all technology would be obsolete overnight. We people would be burning down the government buildings because they realize they've been hiding this for tens of thousands of years, and we are less advanced than our predecessors. Period. We think we're the most smartest ones, but how can that be if we have smaller cranial volume for the brain? You know what I'm saying? And going into what you're doing, these patents, what you're writing in your book. Just like you said, it's really important for you to do this and do it open source, because what they would try to do, they would try to come in, buy it from you, throw it on the blacklist where they have these like 5,000 plus patents they will never let come out. Kind of like free water. We can make water from nothing. We can just separate it from hydrogen from the air and have unlimited amounts of water. And going into the dark matter thing, it reminds me of the whole thing where they say junk DNA. There's nothing over here in junk DNA. Don't look over here. Focus on this small stuff because you're not going to discover anything. It's all distractions for all this stuff, man. And that's where we are now. We're starting to wake up. We're tired of being lied to. And people are waking up in the hundreds of millions, if not a couple of billion people are waking up now. So let's just leave it at that. I think the more we talk about it, the more responses we have to all this cool information. We're going to speak another hour. So I think without further ado, man, let's get into you, what you're here to tell us, and let's blow some people away, man.
Frank, you got to come back, man. This isn't enough.
Definitely,
You
definitely.
got to come back.
Oh, I love you guys. Okay. Well, you know, we have there's such a common language here that it makes it like a shorthand. You know, we don't have to like I don't have to go through I don't have to go through all the foundational stuff with you guys. You know. Okay. So let's see. I'm gonna go screen share. Here we go. And let's see. Finder. You know, I'm gonna go over here first and open it up. So this is new territory for all of us. So those of you watching, I hope you have patience. Okay, here we go. And here, let's see. All right, I'm going to start with the Bogosphere, and let's go. Can't make this big. Okay, can you see that?
Not yet.
Okay,
So
let's see.
you can select the window you wish to share.
Oh,
If
I
the
see.
file
Okay,
is open, you can select it.
there we go.
There we go.
Okay, so I was privileged. I got uh, the possibility came up where I could go see the Bogosphere. I didn't. It was very mysterious, right? Because it's a lot of high security around it, and rightfully so. Um, the people that want to say that this is fake, they can look up the records of the one that was found in Florida. I think it was in the 90s or 2000s by a family there on an island. There's a lot of written history on that one. They say that one's been debunked, which is ridiculous because if you read the original story, what happened was the military showed up, borrowed it. When it came back, it had been sawed in half and it never did anything again. And it probably wasn't the same one. And I also, besides this sphere, I know of another one that's in private hands as well. And I also know of people that have been in programs that have seen these in facilities. So the big thing, like you got a YouTube influencer. I won't say his name, but he was bagging on this because of the graphics on there, and he said, how primitive it looked. And let me jump to another picture here. The graphics are uh, you, kind of crude looking compared to what you'd think of as if a computer did it or something else. This is okay. Let me make this big, and let's see. We got to go to. Okay, did it stay on my screen there? Let me check here. Let's go back here. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Okay, what are you guys seeing right now? You're seeing me, right?
Yes, the original photo.
Okay, let's go back to. All right. I'm not seeing my Zoom screen. Thank you, everybody, for watching, for being patient. Okay, let's make this big. Oh, there we go. Okay, and we'll go to. Okay.
Amir, do you know what button he touches to go to the next version of it?
If it's different photos, perhaps you would choose a different window to share. So stop sharing and then reselect a new photo.
Yeah, I found it now. It took me a second to get back to it.
Okay.
Okay, I've got to jump back to here, and then we'll go back to this, and now I got to go back to Zoom. Okay, it's a little cumbersome. I probably in the future I'll figure out a better way to do this. Okay, go back here and go share and pick. Rah. There it is there.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So this is just kind of a close up. I think it was on my Meta glasses, so it's not perfectly clear, but it kind of gives you an up close view of it. It's kind of a been through a lot. You can see like it's kind of beat up, and you see these holes in it. And people think that they're holes. They're not holes. That's basically where they got the resin sample that dated it to 12,500 years. And also they've been able to scan inside and see that it's completely packed with these dense fiber optics. And this is where a seam would be, but there's not a seam there. But from metallurgic analysis, we know that both halves have been created separately and joined, but they're fused in a way that we don't yet understand. I suggested to the researchers they check out some of the data on the King Tut mask because that also had been fused. The gold had been fused in a way that we don't understand as well. The other thing I suggested to them is that we get a light-proof box and we measure photon emissions from it. And also we, keep track of it in a chronological way because it might be sensitive to different cosmological events or the presence of people. And I also suggested that, when it's in there that we maybe parade through like, an animal and different people and just, check the measurements of it. Because it's when it first arrived, it was changing its weight. Today it would be 12 pounds, next day it would be 14 pounds. And I told them, I think this is probably because it's a dimensional density device where it was adjusting its density to this density, right? And it was kind of clicking it because now it's stabilized, and it has a thermo, and this is calmed down now. But at first, if you would heat it up, you could use a FLIR camera to see the temperature. It would cool off. It's in that spot. Or if you cooled it off, it would warm up. It had self-correcting. It kind of kept its protected itself, right? So, okay, let's see if I can do this without blowing everything up. We'll go to. Okay. Let me make this full screen here.
While you're looking, I would like to interject and say that when I first saw the Bogosphere, I recognized what it was. And if it's what I remember it being, I remember these being any energy cores on ET ships, and they were stored in vertical shafts. And when they were used up, they would be ejected. And it would be like a stack of spheres. And a lot of times these technologies can be replenished, but our human tech can't do it. So A lot of these are manufactured off world. So I was curious to ask Amir, Amir, do you see this as being attached to a ship drive, help powering these core to some of these ships? Because a lot of people don't talk about this.
So in this configuration, it's let's say like a drone, or very advanced, multidimensional. It's taking readings of life, but not just physiological levels. It's basically emerging. They can exist in ships, but there is a great concentration of them in subterranean facilities where they just pop out of the earth also. They're very widely used. So it's a category of technology. Could be used as a power plant, could be used as a, let's say, a recording device, a drone, measurement.
Okay. Were you seeing that when I clicked on it there? Was it rotated around just so I know for the future things? Okay. So let me
Yes.
go on to the next thing then. Let's see. Go to my Finder. Okay. So what would happen was there was a bunch of YouTube guys that, very well known, had channels going back for a long time that had a lot of views and things, and we were all kind of down there, and when it came down to the day, they only allowed me and one other person who had actually put me in touch with it, and it was kind of embarrassing because I had I'm not a big personality online. I'm kind of just starting to get this out there. And previous to that visit, I had done a webinar with the scientists that are working on it, and it was kind of cumbersome because they're speaking Spanish. We had to have translations going back and forth. But I think I kind of gained their respect because of my questions, right? Because I'm thinking, how do I get this, opportunity? But that gave me the opportunity to be able to directly talk to them about the data, about the dating methods, about they had actually 3D printed a rig to try to get it spinning again to see if they could make it recover. So the thing about the graphics on it that I already had known, but since then I had seen, these are graphics that are coming out of the ground on the so-called fake artifacts out of Mexico. Now, one of these influencers that we all know of, and I'll just call her Ed, like erectile dysfunction, and she has a narrative that that the Anunnaki are our saviors, and she's gone to the trouble of making a video saying that these are fake and that the Mexican artifacts are fake. I've was introduced to these. Sat down on a plane next to a famous physicist, and he showed me his collection. He told me that they've been dating them and using thermoluminescence, carbon dating, and actually there's some of them they can use ceramic magnetic dating, and all the dates are corroborating from like 8,000, 12,000, and 22,000 years old. Recently, they've gotten dates of 38,000 years old. So, I mean, civilization is supposed to go back 6,000 years. You're starting at 8,000, and then you're going to 12,000. You're going pre-cataclysmic, pre-Younger Dryas, right? And whenever anything is embedded in any of these, there's a resin that you can get that can be carbon dated, and then underneath that you can get the thermal. You have to go in a light-proof lab, and you can get a reading for thermoluminescence. Now, okay, let me just go to Tula. Let's see, Pedro's. Okay. I'm going to see if I can open all of these so it'll let me go through these as a slideshow, maybe. Okay. Nope, it's not
I
going
just
to do
wanted to
that.
quickly comment too. You made a comment that someone said that it looks fake because it's really rudimentary. And what I've noticed on a lot of these digs around the world and through my experience in the programs, that most of the advanced technology is very basic and rudimentary. There's not fiber optics, there's not cables. It's literally like refined crystals, metal. and the mind activates these technologies. We don't need interfaces. We are the interface to these technologies, so it's very compelling stuff.
Okay, I was going to play. Okay, I will play this anyway because it's just not slow things down. But you just made me think about the idea about the encoding and how these things are energetic. All right, let me see if we get back to Zoom here. So this is you're going to see me holding an artifact, and inside of it is a ball, and in that ball, you'll see what are matching artifacts to the Bogosphere. And this was recovered in the desert in Mexico, like middle of nowhere. Okay, let's go here. Let's see. I think that's it right there.
Amir, do you recognize the language at all written on the Buga?
Um, really surprising. You get this seems to be Lemurian with a heavy influence of Lyran. But
Wow.
the Lemurian civilization would have kind of ascended or evolved about 50,000 to 40,000 years ago. When they went out of business, their technology was then inherited later by the Atlanteans. So it's very ancient stuff.
Are you seeing this?
Um,
Are you guys seeing this object?
we're
No.
seeing the Bogosphere on the translucent
Okay.
pillar. So
All right.
the
Thank you.
picture. Yeah.
Okay. Let me
I think maybe shut that window and you can open up the new window like Amir was saying.
okay, let's do that. And now I have sympathy for people trying to find things on Zoom. Okay, I think
And I
this
like
might
the idea that the tolling on it, it's not perfect. It looks like it was literally created by beings where they didn't need the symmetry like we see in the hieroglyphs, and like it looks like it was laser printed like we see in these ancient civilizations. You know what I'm saying? So that speaks a lot. You can see it's literally hand told by something, biological hands, not mechanical hands.
I think I'm going to just close QuickTime and start it again because it keeps showing me Boogie, even though I've got it open to the correct thing. So what I'm going to show you now is it's a cup that I have. It's in my hand. Is we're on our way out to the desert, and inside of it is a ball, and it has actually I can go. I have it in the house. I could bring it out and show it to you on camera if this gets to be cumbersome. But okay, here we go. Here. Okay, that's QuickTime and. Oh, I see. I've got more windows here. Okay. It's just not showing it to me here. Okay. Um, let's see. Yeah, he wants to hold on to that Bogosphere. It likes that. Okay.
That's one
Anyway,
special
all right.
image.
So rather than bog this down, so you know what? Talk amongst yourselves for a second. I'm going to go in the house and actually grab the physical object, and I'll be right back out.
Oh, that's fantastic. There's some footage of the sphere actually flying around. So usually they wouldn't malfunction in this way. Something brought it down. Um, some of the artifacts that are being found, they do go back to Lemurian periods. Um, talking with Sean Bond and Yisha, shout out to these wonderful guys. Um, they also have access to lots of these artifacts. Some of them just excavated. You can see them doing this. So here we have Frank.
Okay. Now,
Ah,
let's see if you can see this. Okay, on this side of it,
Did you
we've got.
disable the full screen share, Frank? It's not popping you up full screen when you're talking right now, so it's really hard to see.
Okay, yeah, it's not going back to. I've got a little. There we
oh,
go.
there
There
we
we
go.
go. Perfect.
Okay. All right. So, this you can you see the let me see if I can get back to see what you guys are seeing. Let's go back here to Zoom. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Okay, let me get this out of the way.
It has
All
the
right.
same kind of setup, kind of shape on the center of the Buga. It's almost like an integrated circuit or motherboard area that connects like an interface.
Yes. And then also on this side of it, we've got these kind of like crescent moons in a pattern.
Same shapes. Yep. Same
Yeah,
shape.
which is also on it as well. Now, that's not the first one that it just occurred to me. If I close all the other windows, it's going to make things really much more easy when I want to um show things. Because I want to show like a dig where we're actually pulling out of the ground something that has a large scale of the same thing, this kind of
Yeah.
chip design on it.
Yeah.
Now, this is one of the reasons people immediately say that it's fake or whatever. Oh, integrated chips were only invented in the 50s, and how can this be? And blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't know. You tell me,
Well,
right?
technically, we discovered it in the 19. We discovered that in 1947. So you can't say it was invented then. We rediscovered it in 47 with the Roswell crash because that's where it came from.
Re-entered our awareness.
Hmm.
There's a very
That's a,
active
that's that's a
restriction
good
of
way of saying
information going on.
it. Okay, so let's see. Let's go back to yeah. Well, that didn't really work, but we're gonna forge ahead anyway. All right,
Yes.
so let's see. Let's go Booga. Let's go to Tula. Okay, and okay, we're gonna jump ahead here because I got so much stuff. But okay, basically, let me just make the point about that is that I went there, met the scientists, went over the data, touched the thing, looked it over, found things in the desert, pulled them up from the rocks, and let me see if I can actually play one of those to show you like coming out of the dirt because it kind of does something when you see it coming
Yeah.
out of the ground. Okay, here we go. Let's see.
As if it's
So,
reacting with the photons for the first time outside of the ground, because that's very powerful. That exchange of energetic information.
let's see. We'll close this and go to here. Okay.
Excellent. Oh, wow.
Okay, so this is now this object, this is incredible. It's weighs about 80 pounds. Let me and like I said, this is one of like a few
Many,
dozen I know
many.
of so
Yeah.
far, and I know of other people that have found it. Like I really did not want to be the alien artifact guy, but it's ended up being like it picked me, because there's other people that have been. Oh, actually, speaking of that, let's show you this. Um, okay.
I like on that one, it's highlighting like the third eye region of that ET.
Oh, you could see it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, where did it go here? Yeah, this guy. And I've got several now that have like earrings on them. They're like, ears with like things hanging off of them. But if you notice at the top of it, I'll pause it when we see it. There's actually kind of a booga. Okay, this is the back of it. Let me when you look at you see this is the back of it, but on the front, right near the top, you see this is like
Yep.
kind of like this chip kind of looking thing, like graphic around the
Yep.
top of it. Um, that's not necessarily one of the stronger ones, but I'm just saying it pops up a lot on these. Okay.
It almost looks like the like Teotihuacan or a Sidonia complex on Mars that's showing you an orientation of how to lay out your technology and your buildings to create these circuits. It looks like circuit maps almost.
That makes perfect sense. So the way electronic circuits are spaced out when you're using a software, it's optimizing space. It's a very logical outcome. So it would make sense if other sentient and thinking beings are optimizing space, they arrive at the similar type of solution. So it would look similar, very similar.
Kind of like the layout of a hard drive.
Layout of a hard drive. Yep. The buses going around. So efficient use of space makes perfect logical sense. Common solution.
Okay, so this is the okay, crawling up on the top of this mountain. We had cleared out are you seeing the
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
okay. We cleared out the a bunch of weeds and debris, and it's kind of a hole going back in there. So there's snakes. So you'll see what I'm doing, and I think you'll be able to hear the audio on this. Let's let it play. I was a snake. Now give me a stick too, like that. A stick? Yeah, stick. I don't use this. What? Oh my God! No! Dude, what? Okay, I just like pulled this out of this. I know, I got it. In the fucking middle of nowhere. Oh. And actually, I have that in the other room. Let me go grab it and show it
Oh,
to you because we got it
yes.
cleaned off now.
Oh, wow.
And you can see it looks like a being with an extended skull as well.
Correct. They seems to be very common all over the world, really.
Yeah, extended skull
Egypt,
stuff is everywhere. Before we even had
everywhere,
history, we keep finding extended
everywhere.
skulls before our history, no matter what.
Maria Whitley in the UK, she's finding these around Stonehenge. So even in Europe, so Egypt, we've got this. We've got this in South and Central America. We've got it in Europe. So there seems to be a very long lasting interaction between humans and these beings, the
If you
long
think about
skulls.
it, like we have the pre-Adamites that predates Adam of the biblical creation with what the Anunnaki did. So we have to assume at a certain point that extended skull was a natural feature we had before
A
we were.
living being. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to me. All right. Are you seeing me or are you still seeing that? I can close that, I guess.
Yeah, the video we're seeing. So
Okay. Close window. Okay. Am I back?
Yep.
yes.
All right. So this is cleaned up now. And you could see, let's see, the light's a little red here, but it's got this is embedded. This is a stone that's embedded. This is a black stone that's embedded. This is embedded. This is embedded. Whenever I see things like that, it makes me excited because I know if I ever want to date it, it can be done. But I just assume, and also like the little mouth in there. This is actually it's hard to see in this light, but it's kind of this has been embedded. It's white, and it has a hole through it to be
Like a
A
necklace.
necklace. Wow.
yeah.
Yes.
And
Is it
so
is it an amplifier, Amir? Some kind of heart spiritual interface of some kind?
You have
you
to
would think
touch
if
it.
you're going to be
So
wearing it here,
uh
I
huh.
think that would be a
Good.
good guess.
So Frank,
Um,
as you're connecting to it, what are you picking up? What emotions or what thoughts? What the first time you found it, what was it giving you? Because that's
it,
the consciousness part of it.
I might have stuck it there. It felt like an old friend. It just felt so familiar. It was, and if I wish I could show it to you in a little bit better detail, but every surface of it has in carvings and engravings on it. Now, the thing is these look like stone, and there's quite a large variety. Okay. At first, I heard there's tens of thousands, but I was down near Tula, found stuff. Got on a plane, flew 2 hours, went up to Agua Calientes, and then went out the deserts there, found stuff. I think that there are millions of these, millions,
Yeah.
because if you look at the time span, we're talking 8,000. We're now going to 38,000 years. These things were made, and then people that maybe are a little more sensitive to me when they're saying these were left to tell us who we are.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, that
and
is true.
I grabbed a couple more things that I had pulled out of the ground that day. This is just I'm going to see if I can get a whiter light on here to make things a little bit brighter here.
Are you
Because
using SAR or LiDAR to locate a lot of these?
it's basically just a pendulum and a dowsing rods.
Them dowsing rods are amazing. I came across them through a woman named, I think, Arena or something like that on Instagram and YouTube. And when I saw you using those dowsing rods, it's like you can ask yes or no questions about these ancient sites, and you can use the Socratic method to go deeper and really ask all these sub kind of categories of questions. And I've never seen so many accurate answers in my life from these dowsing rods, man.
100% of the time, it said, yes, we found artifacts. And
Yeah.
sometimes they were like this big because we had to scree, you know. I have one that's the size of a grain of rice carved, you know, and they're energetic enough to have set it off, right? Okay,
Yeah.
now we should have a better color here. So let's see, we can maybe show you this again. So it's
Oh,
kind of a reddish
wow.
color.
Looks way better.
Yeah.
Can
Okay,
I
and
see
now,
the back carving real quick?
yeah,
Interesting.
this is
Huh.
almost like a
It kind of almost reminds me that the top carvings, it almost looks like celestial, like coming down through space, and then
Yeah,
the circular part
constellations.
connecting
Yes,
to a
yes, yes.
pillar, and then boom, it exits, and here it is in the physical. That's what I'm
it's
getting
almost
off.
three. It's like, yeah, above, here, below, almost. Yeah. And you're exactly right looking at this in a very symbolic, very, deep way, because these are this is still kind of dirty from the desert, but this came out of the
Wow.
ground. And you can
So
see
the
that they've got a little chip from the taking it out. But they're
Can you flip it up where the teardrop is at the top? Because it looks like that looks like up and down. That looks
oh
like
yeah, yeah,
again the
that is.
face, the third eye stone.
Yep.
You actually see the mouth kind of carved out too. That it looks like almost like a tentacle at the bottom. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
a lot of these are depicting hybrids. Back in this is pre-Atlantis again. A lot of hybridization went on, so biological splicing, and Earth is a unique place where the hybrids actually take. So it couldn't be done in other planetary systems. So here we've got a very unique set of environments, environmental conditions. Wow! So that looks like almost like a incubation chamber where you've got something growing inside. That is a living being. Often when you're holding them, they act like tuning forks. They
Look at the
allow
top
you
of
to
it.
connect to the actual conscious being.
Look, see how you see it from the side? It looks like
Wow.
a sarcophagus cover.
Mm-hmm.
Like, see it? How from the side it looks like it's actually tooled with a line across the
Right, right,
bottom of
with
it,
the
as if
hands,
it's like a plate.
yeah, crossed on the chest. So yeah, but this is not a burial. This is more like a pod where you would grow a fetus. So the being that's here, this is a living being represented.
Or even like a
Fascinating.
stasis chamber or something.
Stasis chamber, something like that. Yeah.
You're gonna make me want to show you another video here real quick. Okay.
This is what we're here for, man. Oh, your awesome discoveries, man.
Oh wow.
This is okay, so this is crazy. I actually have another video of some of these are sensitive to ultraviolet light. And the one I'm going to show you is, oh my God, I got to show you that too. Okay, I'm just going through these going, oh, I got to show you this. They have okay, here we go. Make that big. Let's play. Okay, go back here and share. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. Can you see that?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So this, let me start it over here. This is sarcophagus.
Wow. It reminds me of like the key that's required to open the Book of the Dead in the Mummy series. It has these parts that open that actually activate it. That's amazing, man.
Wow.
Now that one in a dark room with the UV light, it holds it and boy, I didn't grab that video, but it shows you trails on it.
Shake hands. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's close that one. Okay, and then let me show you. Actually, we're talking about encoding and records and things, and I realize I need to show you. I have come across more than a couple of these. Let's see.
You know what I would like, man? The three of us to organize a time where we go down to Mexico with Sean and we make some discoveries together and we start putting this in documentary footage. Because
Once
putting us all
you
together,
hold,
man.
yeah. Once you
I
hold
think we'll
these
find
objects,
stuff other people.
wow.
Well, let me just explain. It's like,
so yeah, those are
like
hybrids.
the day after I left, they found 2 human heads in a cooler outside where I was staying. It's very dangerous. I mean, there's drug gangs, there's, you know, poisonous snakes. It's not trivial. And when you go there, you almost have to hide in the back of a local's car because everybody knows what's going on, and they get very jealous. There's a lot of politics. I tipped these guys $50 for taking us out, and they called us really nervous because they were worried that somebody would find out that I gave them money and then they would want it from them. And I said, I'm not telling anybody any. It's very interesting. I'm always like I would love to have everybody have the experience I had, but it's also, I have to tell you, it's really quite it's not touristy, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
All right, so this is
I
another.
don't do touristy stuff. I do all the dangerous stuff. Hey, Frank, remember my roles and what my roles are for when we're on these ancient sites?
It's not so much for you, Drago. It's for everybody watching. Okay. I know if I'm going with you, I know what I got.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
These
I wonder if it
latches are
creates a
stones,
circuit.
bro.
It reminds me of like the door at Coral Castle we did that documentary with. It looks like the same kind of cool stuff.
Now, this is the language that Isa, Sean Bonnet Isa, she thinks it's an algorithm because it's very difficult to find 2 that look the same to try to make it a to try to find commonalities to make a language. But they do have a lot of graphic kind of communication on them as well. Now, this was originally when it was found on a crappy phone in Mexico. I've got better video of it now, but there was a second one that I actually picked up that's it doesn't have much of the language in it. It's got a lot of the graphics in it.
Yep.
Let me see what I've got.
And it has heavy connections to Egypt. A lot of the symbolism in it, it's literally Egyptian.
Anubis, Thoth. Yeah.
It's crazy, Drago. Like there's straight on Ankhs, and I have Anubis, and I mean it goes on and on. Okay, let's see. I think what I'll do if I plan this, what I would do is I just put them all like in a row in one video, and then we could just play right through it, and I wouldn't be jumping around like this. Okay, remember the piece that we were digging out of the ground?
Yep.
That in the dirt. This is what it looks like cleaned up. Can you see this?
Wow! Oh my goodness!
Yeah, for real.
Does
the individual parts spin? Yeah, I knew it. Is it a location? Is it locating gates, Amir? Like it almost like it's like locating gates.
Well,
this
we're gonna have to figure it
it's
out.
Different codes, like the Stargate in the movie.
Astrological. So you would have a Rimmel and Osterlebe that actually made it to the modern times. So this would be used to navigate. So it's a navigation tool, but it's also a divination tool. So it's concentric rings, they move around, but the patterns allows you to, it's like an early version of a computer, mechanical computer.
You can see the kind of circuit board looking things here.
Yeah.
And then also on these balls that are on the outside, there's also kind of more of the booga thing. So this is like when I've got, erectile dysfunction telling us that these are fake, and I'm pulling these out of the dirt, and I'm going down and talking to these scientists, and I'm thinking, okay, what is your agenda? Why did you go through the trouble of doing this? You didn't do any of this work to vet this, to figure it out. Why is it important enough for you to discredit this? And when I know that there's literally millions of these objects, let me show you another one here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This came out of the ground, okay? And it has the original beads on it.
Yep.
And you can see, this is like, it looks almost like a king in Egypt, right?
Yep, the upper and lower Egypt, yeah.
Now, look at the back.
And then we've got
Same
the
symbol over
same
again.
circuitry pattern.
And
These
then look
these
how
are
thick that is.
wow.
So like if I'm going to wear this, you know, I got to wear something regal, right? This is
What if
quite
those patterns, what if you use those to activate the other technologies where they have the same carvings, like wearing it around your heart as like a necklace and allows you to connect with these technologies? That makes sense. Kind of like the armor of God when dealing with the Ark of the Covenant. You know what I'm saying?
I would be willing to bet that there's something embedded in this because
It's
it just
huge.
feels like there
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
haven't had it x-rayed yet. There are people that have been starting to x-ray these, and they're finding things embedded. Like this, when you take it to a shop and they read things, they'll say, "Oh, there's gold. There's this. There's that." You know, like Atlantis gold supposedly was a myth, and then an electrum in Egypt was a thing. It was, you know, it's an alloy of a bunch of metals. I have some of these artifacts that have little bits of this, and I've had them analyzed, and it's basically like 12 different things of, you know, it starts with gold, and there's silver, and there's nickel, and there's, you know, and it's would be a difficult alloy, right? And then it shows these beings holding it and offering it,
Mm-hmm.
and there's something really special about that blend of alloys.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I just got
So these
one
are
more thing.
also strongly activated by touch.
This is what you're talking about. This is a hybrid, right? It's showing
Yes,
each
yes,
half
yes, yes,
different.
yes.
I've got probably a dozen that have this where there's a split and it shows different things on each half. Some are large, some are small. And then if you look on the back of this, like how does that end up in Mexico? You know?
Exactly.
Wow.
Well, it's like
Wow.
So
if you read the story of the Pyramid Wars 1 and 2, you see that Thoth lost against his brother Marduk and he was sent to South America, but the pyramids were already there. So if you use the premise of these pyramids being portals to other locations, and that's why you find a lot of these pyramids along the 33rd parallel. Like they're all creating this circuit. And I noticed on the stone with concentric rings, there's a symbol of it of a pyramid. And in the movie Stargate Atlantis, there's a sun directly above it, a central sun, and that was the main symbol they needed to activate it. And what you just showed me was there was two suns above the pyramid showing a binary star system. So
Yep.
for them to know it was a binary star system before it was even observable, that speaks a lot, man. That means they knew it before they came to Earth.
okay, so we're going to talk about these being energetic, right?
Yep.
So this famous person, physicist, scientist, brilliant man, um, happened to just mention that he has one he calls his girlfriend because he sleeps with it, and it's big, right? So then 2 years later, I'm talking to his actual girlfriend. I said, "Does he still sleep with that?" And she goes, "Yeah, he does. I mean, it's kind of a thing to have that in your bed, right?" So when I originally came into possession of some of these, I set them in my house. I said, "Okay, you guys, you can." I just out loud said, "You can tell me things, right?" And so this is maybe a day or something. I look over at my Apple Watch, and I don't know if you know how Apple Watches work, other than spying on you, you know. Um, but basically, they don't work like this. I looked at my watch was typing things to me, and I grabbed my phone and started videotaping, like because it was going so fast I couldn't read it, right?
Wow.
And in looking back, and it had been going on for a while by the time I thought to do this. And so I thought, hey, somebody hacked into it. Maybe turn it off. I better turn it off, right? But it wouldn't let me turn it off. Every time I got to the screen to turn it off, you watch, like there it is to slide it. It switched, right? Now it's switch. It doesn't just do that on its own. And I watch it's going to switch between apps. It doesn't. This is not how they work. It doesn't do that. Doesn't do that. Doesn't do that. Doesn't do that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's touching it. Right? So things like this started happening with not just that, with electronics in the house, like lights and the it culminated in, well, okay, at one point I wrapped one of these up in a cloth and stuck it in my pocket and went to dinner with my brother and nieces and nephews and their boyfriends and girlfriends. And we sat down at the table and the light of the table starts blinking, right? And they went, "Oh, the light's going on." I went, "No, no." I said, "At least stop till we're done eating," right? And it stopped. And they all looked at me. And I'm like, "Okay, I'll explain. Just give me a minute." So I showed them the artifact. We all talked, right? The last person took a bite and started again. I went, and my brother's girlfriend says, "Can you tell it to stop? I'm going to have a seizure." And I said, "Okay." That was a figure of speech. Nobody here knows like Morse code or whatever that is. It's not going to help us. Please stop. And it just stopped, right? So this kind of stuff went on for a little bit until one day, Drago, you were asking me about my studio in Michigan that had been moved, right? It's soundproof, whatever. And nobody lives within a mile of me. I'm in the middle of nowhere. And so I'm walking out there and I'm hearing, it sounds like there is thunder and lightning coming out of my soundproof studio. The thing is just shaking. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So open the door and look in. And I've been through a lot of things physically. Like one of the things that happened is I couldn't walk for a while, right? And so one of the things I got was a vibrating plate to stand on to help get my strength back. And it's a big one. Well, I had never turned it all the way up. The thing's like huge. It was turned all the way up. 2 switches have to be turned to turn it on. And it was turned all the way up. And it was just, and so, I had to pull the plug out of the wall. And it was pretty much toasted. Like now when you plug it in, it was just like going to go full blast, which was not good. Anyway, so I had to go in and go, all right, guys, got to find another way to talk because this is too expensive, right? And we're not getting communication. So it was about a few months later, I'm in Greece standing next to, I guess I could talk about this. I was standing next to Nassim Haramein, and this idea comes to me about the knowledge structure we just talked about. And I'm like, Nassim, what if, human knowledge was structured in a toroid, blah, 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 blah. Of course, he's brilliant. He goes, oh, that's a great idea. And I'm like, shit. So I'm thinking, okay. I had left there and I went to go see William Brown, who works with him, who's like almost too smart to be a human being and talk with other humans, right? And so I had a 2.5-hour interview with him that I haven't edited yet because all this other stuff happened in the meantime. Because when I started talking to him and I brought up this idea again, not only did he get it immediately, he started using it in the context of the conversation and using it against me when I would complain about string theory and dark matter. And then he talked about how they had used a bit of string theory to solve a really important part of their equations, right? And telling me, that my premise that all knowledge is valuable, right? Anyway, so at that point I was like, now I gotta do this, right? And when you're talking about something like this, it's a little bit of a struggle to explain it simple. And when I do it in a video and I animate it, it'll look simple. But when you're talking about doing it in a practical way and making it work in a laboratory and a computer, it gets very complicated, right? And I just happen to have a reading disorder that's so severe that actually shuts my immune system off when I read. So I'm like, really, universe, you're going to make me write a book? You're going to make me figure out this code? You're going to do this to me? Really? Okay. Because, it could have just been one of those ideas that went away, but it just kept, there's just no way I was going to get away from it. So, yeah. Anyway,
Frank, there's a consciousness aspect to them, especially when you're holding the object. It seems to steer you to pre-designed location in consciousness. And in many of these cases, because I had the privilege of going through to some of these sites with Sean and Yisha, when you hold the object, it allows you to connect with the being, with the actual being. Some of them are in stasis, some of them are doing really poorly, some of them are very vibrant and healthy. And it's like a walkie-talkie. The stone itself strengthens the connection. Just wanted to add this. These are not just simple carvings on a stone. They have additional functions that can't be exactly modeled or explained. Just looking at the physical reality, there's more going on with them.
So yeah, so let me explain. This gets really deep. So let me explain two. Okay, so they're not really stone. Um, but one of the scientists that worked with the team, Trevor Miller, just did a presentation in Paris in front of all the leading scientists that deal with polymers,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been analyzed to be a form of aluminum silicate. And so I did research on that and found out it's basically alumina and silica, but it has to be
There's a receiver.
it has to be a very specific blend of it, and it has to be done at 3,500 degrees, right? This is not Stone Age over the campfire stuff, right? And so I went into the machines and I asked them, I said, okay, if I want to leave records for mankind and there's cataclysms and whatever, what is the best stone I could put messages on, or would aluminum silicate be better? And it
Silica.
says aluminum silicate by far, because it doesn't allow water. It's not affected by temperature. It doesn't have lichens grow on it. And it allows fine drawing on it. It went just right down a list of like all of the advantage of it. There was definitely a high technology that made these, that encoded them, that now, we can talk about consciousness. Actually, are you seeing on the screen right now
Yep.
the picture?
Yep.
Okay. So this is Isa, and this is going to be the subject of, I'm doing a trailer for this right now. It's a site in, let's not talk about where it's at, I guess, right now, but let me show you what's inside. Trevor was down there a couple days before I was, and he pulled a crystal skull out of here. And then what's interesting is once you get in around the corner there, you're going to see a sculpture, and the sculpture is carved out of the bedrock. Okay. And this was all kind of top secret, but then somebody kind of let the cat out of the bag. And so it's been, I don't have a lot of images of it right now, but I've got this one. So I'm going to describe to you as, okay, out of the bedrock is carved this head, and this head is about 2.5 feet tall. It's really large. And when you shine a UV light on it, the bedrock doesn't light up, but the head does.
Wow.
And from this angle, you can't see, but it's not quite human looking, right?
Correct.
And so you can see a little bit like the light is hitting in there, but all around it comes out of that bedrock, and it's the same rock as the bedrock, but only the skull lights. Now, not only that, we're in the middle of the desert. There's, snakes, there's army ants, there's red ants. So there's fire ants. Fire ants are streaming into this cave, falling into a pile, and twitching like they're being electrocuted.
Wow.
Now, when I crawled in here, I had a feeling of like everything was okay, and I was helping. It's very tight, so I was helping other people that were with me. Okay, watch your head. I'll help you. And guiding them in, right. And there was a couple of people with us that were, no, we're fine. We're just going to do it. So I got out and let them go in, and they went in and they started singing to it, right. And I just got this feeling like, oh, doesn't like that, right. And immediately one of them got sick, then the other one started getting sick, and the next one was sick for the whole next day. So there's definitely an energetic protection.
Yeah, their bodies aren't compatible.
And when Isa and Trevor were first digging into here, she heard a snake, and so they stopped because they're snakes, right? And then they didn't see a snake, and then they uncovered a snake sculpture in here, right? So this is like another one that we're talking about, this, kind of protection guardian thing. So I had walked the site with my dowsing rods, and I'm like, okay, there's something here, there's something here. And then little did I know, they had done ground penetrating radar, and I started noticing these green rocks, right? And so where I was finding stuff, they had these green rocks. And then when they had asked me to do a documentary about opening what we think is behind this, which is probably, we're pretty sure it's a not human tomb, right? And so we're enlisting people like so far. I think this is fine to talk about, like JP and Emery Smith. JP has given us some warnings, like look out for this. Wear a N90 mask because there's a powder that can cause an pneumonia. The way these things can be protected. If we find physical remains, Emery Smith is on board to help us, look at them.
Yeah.
So these things are not new. They've been found before, but this is the first time we've got it secret. It's in a place nobody knows that we can. Now, everyone's going to call. They're already calling. The artifacts fake. So you can only do so much. You can only do so much with these hypnotized monkeys, but the thing is when I always tell people, and it's with you guys, I can go, trust me, bro. You guys would trust me, right? But for most people, they don't understand that I'm giving them a tip of the iceberg of what I really know, and it's hard to get that across in a day and age like today, especially when you have people that like Miss erectile dysfunction, who's she's got real information. She's actually in touch with ETs. I know other people that have met them, yet she's saying stuff that I know for a fact is complete bull, So what is that misdirection? What is going on there? What is that agenda? And I think it has to do, this is just my intuition. It's with putting these motherfuckers that have been like messing with us for thousands of years in a position of, elevated position rather than taking our own agency.
Yeah.
And so I'm not having any of that. That's not what I'm here for,
Understood.
Anyway.
Yes. These objects, when you're in their presence, so proximity does seem to come in. When you're holding them, or you're, for example, inside that small cave where the skull is located, you start becoming aware of more things. You can probably consider them conduits. They do facilitate the connection of consciousness. I've got a tiny little one from Mexico, and so let's see if I can get this. This is one of the elongated skull beings. Again, the tiny little mouth shape. And as far as psychically connecting with the being, it is called Tiaka. It was in a, let's say, like a preservation chamber in stasis. I woke it up. It came out of the stasis. So much technology for repairing the body had been there for thousands of years, repairing the physical part of the body. And it was in a tiny ship that does actually look like the craft that you have etched on the artifacts. And it identifies as one of the Asgard species, elongated skulls, and these guys have had connection with humanity all over the world. You've got the Nordic runes, which seems to be their language. So the runes that you would find in the north of Europe, part of their original alphabet, is etched in these stones. So they've been tweaking with humans for a very long time. Their presence is well established, but not very well known. Again, going back to that whole notion of evil or Satanism, where everything is supposed to be just the physical. This type of knowledge will shatter that type of reality. We can call the matrix. And so, of course, there's vested interest in poo-pooing stuff that has, as you say, millions of artifacts. You just need to go there and you will find. You're just walking around, you see them tipping out of the dust. So certain locations like Tula, for example, very rich in these. And you were talking about that the fact that many of these people are living in poverty. And so they have no choice but to sell them. So they're being spread around. Maybe there is some wisdom in that, because these artifacts, they hold the wisdom. When they're scrutinized, then they're going to reveal more of their secrets. So perhaps there is some wisdom in this, the way that it is happening. This disinformation, the slander, it's not going to stick. It reaches a point where the evidence is just overwhelming. I must be honest.
I agree with you. I agree
Yeah,
with you about that. I
yeah,
agree. Yeah.
yeah. I must be honest. Initially, I was highly skeptical, thinking, okay, this is a local industry, that the locals are creating these and selling them. But as soon as you are in a room with these artifacts, the energy is undeniable. Certain objects quite literally start a conversation with you. They take you into altered states. That is undeniable. So I suppose the evidence would be in people interacting with the objects.
Yeah, so I'm probably seeing right now. This is one of the first ones. They call these potatoes. That's kind of their name for them. But there's literally 6 that I have that have kind of DNA, unmistakable, double strand DNA. So, the the it's going to be tedious for me to go through the rest of the things. I think what it will do is maybe we'll prepare something else, and I'll make an entire slide of other things. But basically, the main thing I wanted to get across is that we've got people that thousands, if not millions of people are looking up to that have agendas that are questionable, and they may have true information, but anybody who's telling you to look to them for the answers, I think that is your warning sign. Like the one thing that I always, will say is like, my truth is not your truth. And if for me to give you that is, and for you to look to me for the answer, and for me to allow that would be a mark against me. I'm not going to allow that, right? So, for instance, this summer, I'm still putting this together, still kind of flowing around the ether, but I have a couple handbags, like Anunnaki kind of handbags, but they're not big enough for an Anunnaki, but they've been found in these things. And you guys know JP, right? Jorge. He had a being give him, he said an acorn, right? But English isn't his first language. For a day I'm thinking, okay, get back to me. JP, did you mean a pine cone? He goes, oh yeah, pine cone. I'm like, okay, you still have it? He goes, oh yeah, I kept it over here in my room. I go, okay. You got a pine cone from a being that, came down and gave it to you. I got handbags. I think, all over the world, we got Stellas with these guys, the handbag. And I said, okay, so we're going to have an event this summer so far, maybe like the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before Labor Day. I'm thinking about including you, Drago. I'm going to see if I can get Trevor, JP, you, and we'll have I've got my old military base I told you about. That's a golf course now. There's nobody around it for miles. It's like completely dark sky, and bring people out and do it. Because I've been able to bring ships down myself just with a couple people. JP's been able to do it with like 1,000 people. So just to kind of bring the acorn, the bag, and people together, and have an event for that. And then other things like we all give our presentations and do some things. My book will be out then, and I'll talk to you about it a little more later and see if it fits with your calendar and what we can do. But it's kind of the first time that I'm gonna like step out, and I was a little concerned because I've got brothers and partners and whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, we can get a bus here, we can do this, they're jumping right on board with it. So it looks like this is going to come together. And JP like started talking about it right away on podcasts, and I was like, oh, because I was just thinking about him and I going out and doing it. He's thinking of it as a whole big thing, which probably is what it should be, So more on that later.
Well, that's exciting.
I figure
Looking
if I
forward
get you a
to
plane
learning
ticket,
more.
I'll probably get Drago there, get you a plane ticket and a place to stay, and get you some, some speaker fees, and get you up for a presentation, So we'll talk about it. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I'm just like thinking about it right now. So
That's always been the plan for us, man. We had talked about probably trying to make Mackinac like a place where we can do conferences at, but the fact that it's so hard to get to, and you know your brother's organizing the buses, and it's not easy to get to, like
Yeah.
you have to have infrastructure in to make that successful. But having a bunch of guys that's this sensitive to technologies, it's way more valuable than having a couple people because the perspectives that you're going to bring to it's going to make it more powerful.
Well, plus that part of the country, there's people there that are interested that maybe don't go to other conferences that can come to it, you know? So look, I want to keep it kind of like modest at first so that, no matter what happens is success, we don't have to like,
Yeah, yeah.
try to overdo it, and we'll just see how it goes, It's a gorgeous place. It's a gorgeous time of year. And yeah, so
Yeah, I
yeah.
your place is amazing, man. Like I would watch you just post videos on your electric bike and you're just going through the entire property, man, and like that's why so many people come to your campgrounds over there and there's so much joy in that area because I believe it's an energetic, there's something energetically going on, and that ties into the military base. Like they always put it near, even like the connection of the elites. That's not talked about with Mackinac. Like it's there for a reason, and when we discover what's under that shit, that's gonna probably change the narrative of history, period.
Well, okay, so I have some data on that I just learned.
Ah,
Okay, so Epstein Island. Before there was Epstein Island, it was Mackinac Island. I had no idea. It was one of the survivors that was at the last Galactic Informers that uh, Catherine O'Brien, she had actually been there with, you know, some of the Gerald Ford and Bush and blah blah, and was describing, and I was completely shocked. I mean, I was that that was so shocking for me that I had when I went to the pyramid conference, this little woman comes up. She's a spiritual healer. I had no idea. She came up and just started doing a healing on me because, and it was the strangest thing. And it was, I had been, it was just this darkness that I was carrying ever since I learned that. And it just felt like this hand came in and just pulled this. And I was like 15 pounds lighter because, you know, that's the problem. What they do is so evil and so dark that when you're a normal person, it's hard to not be traumatized when
Yep.
you really imagine what they've been doing,
That's the whole point, you see. These locations have been sacred for time immemorial. This is going before humanity. They're special locations. Usually underneath we've got very large crystals, guardian crystals. And the function of these is holding an open portal to source energy. Now, in the presence of these crystals, evolution is accelerated. Now, there's a very easy way to put them to sleep, and it is through trauma. They're so sensitive, they are sympathetic or emotionally connected, they go into dormancy. And you see this, then there's sacred geometry used to trap that energy. If there's a soul that has now left the body, the soul is trapped. And also there is human remains. So many of these temples or old churches, you would see a collection of human skulls. That is keeping the energy of trauma above these crystals. Now that takes a whole part of the natural grid line of the earth offline. So once we are able to do some healing work, so for example, if there is a soul trapped, to pass it over into the light, so to speak, so it may find healing, guides, and to be able to reincarnate and continue its journey, that energy of trauma is released. So a lot of people are doing this. Grid workers, many of them don't even consciously know what they're doing, but that's exactly the function. So like nerve cell by nerve cell, the grid is coming back online. Earth has its own natural immune system. So many of these frickin' pirates that are in control, they're going to be purged by the natural immunity of the Earth. So I do believe you're located above one of these guardian crystals.
So that area is known to the Native Americans as their most sacred place, their Garden of Eden. And if you can get a shovel in the ground on Mackinac Island, there's probably a body there. Yeah, so I mean that all lines up.
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
elites were using it for their own purposes,
Yeah.
their own dark purposes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I
So
believe your mission is. You're here to convert these energies back to the light. And that's why when you build these structures on your own property, you're lacing them with crystals and stuff, and you're using magnetic instruments to help you determine like the dowsing rods. It's telling you where these crystals need to be placed in the foundation. So like you're doing it, Frank.
yeah,
In the
it
words of
was
in the words of Borat, wah wah wee wah. Like, oh my god.
uh all right, guys. Well, I think, we probably are at a good stopping point because right now I've got my other material I probably should put together and make it a little more seamless for people watching. So I'm not poking
Yeah.
around trying to find videos for you.
Frank, we freaking love you. You are one cool dude and an awesome human being. Let's not just even get into the spiritual side of stuff and your rank and what it is you're doing here. You're a blessing. Thank you. We're so deeply honored by your presence. Um, Keep up the amazing work, man. Keep being awesome, forward and upward.
Thank you so much. I feel so honored. This has uh, been such a highlight, and I kind of really needed to debrief with my spiritual bros here a little bit because it's been just a nonstop, whirlwind of things going on in the last couple of months, and this was good therapy, good spiritual therapy. Thank you.
Oh, likewise, likewise. So, Frank, could you kindly share with our viewers where can people find you? Where can they find your work?
The easiest way is Mortals, Mortals of Earth, and it's a web page, it's a YouTube channel, it's on Facebook, it's on X, it's on TikTok. Heaven help me. And also Substack. I try to keep the content consistent across it all, but I don't always have it always matched up. Like I just ended up doing a lot of stuff in Cambodia that only went up on Facebook. And the different platforms have different things they're optimized for, and I'm just one guy trying to do a lot of stuff. So, and probably if you got to my YouTube channel and you just started through my feed, it would kind of catch you up with who I am. You can see that I'm not just a one note guy. I'm kind of go all over the place between consciousness and ancient stuff and calling Zai Hawass names and things like that. Um, the uh, uh, the the next few months I really have to devote to getting the message out about the book and the technology, and then I'll probably have to spend some time because I once the patent application, if it's approved, then I have to deal with getting the patent done and developing that, which is it's going to be a thing. I'm also working with Trevor and Filippo Biondi. We're deciding whether we want to either try to get them a really big computer or to do a distributed networking system where everybody can donate computing time.
Yeah.
My input on that was let's do both, because if you can put an app on your computer when you're not using it to help him process things, you're basically allowing the collective consciousness of the earth to give supportive energy, right? So yeah, let's get him a big computer, but let's also let everybody else participate as well, because it's a non-invasive way of being able to investigate sites that are at risk where you don't have to ask permission. The data is freely available from space. We've had breakthroughs in Egypt that are going to start getting proven. And there's a new generation. For some reason, things are not being as fought as much as they used to be. Permits are getting through. It's pretty shocking. But one thing I will never bet against the manifestations caused by Trevor Grassi. I would tell you that man, he's a very humble man, but the mountains move for him.
And he's making cool technologies. He made this for me,
Wow.
cool tensor ring coaster to help transfigure my water and stuff like that. So he's doing all kinds of cool stuff, man. He's not just discovering things in Egypt. He's trying to develop his own technologies. And like the group we're in with, Frank, it's all technology people. So it's like a million perspectives is better than one perspective. Like you said, open source this, help share it, because that's valuable. That's bringing in creative consciousness, and you're expanding that energy outwards. You know, that's what me and Amir are more powerful together than we are separately. So this is why we started this show, man.
Yes, yes. I'm getting goosebumps all over. Oh my goodness. Yes. This makes me
I want
so
to jump
happy.
in really quick because actually I'm really glad you brought that up because Trevor has very little time usually to make the tensor stuff, right? I've got his stuff that I use every day, just like you do. I keep it around. I have it one over my meter. I have, in my table. But right now, he just reopened his, I think it's his Etsy store. You can look him up online, and he's doing them. And you will help support the guy. Like has just dissipated everything he has to do what he's doing. He's not getting paid from anybody for anything. Everything you see online, he's like got a crappy laptop working, doing his own
Yeah.
videos and doing his own content. So if you really want to help evolve civilization and rediscover who we really are and support somebody who's just a freaking king on the earth who's come back to help us, check it out right now because he doesn't always have time to make those devices and he's doing them right now.
Well, guess who's going there?
Awesome.
Frank, is there anything you want to say to close down the show? Any message, any advice for our wonderful viewers? You've been around the block, you've seen things and done things. What would your parting advice be for our wonderful audience?
I would like everybody to understand how important you really are. Everything has been a spell to keep you from understanding your power in this universe. And like I said, the word faith is just something that's been caused to distract you. No, you're connected to the divine spark. Every intention, every thought, where your energy goes is important. When you hold the door open for somebody, when you pick a piece of garbage off the ground, when you help a neighbor, when you say a kind word to somebody who needs, some support, when you do any of those little things, those ripples go out through the universe. You're basically lighting up the darkness. And the dark ones, the people that have been holding us down, it doesn't take many of us. We can defeat them, right? It takes us awakening to remember who we really are. So it's not faith, it's knowing. You can do it. I'll have stories next time and illustrations on some shocking ways that I can illustrate this has happened in real time with real matter. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you so much. Keep being
Perfectly said,
awesome.
Frank. Yeah, man. I just want to just say in final conclusion, just like this ring here, be the ripple you want to see in the world. Create your own change in the water and allow it to affect the entire universe, man.
Awesome.
Beautiful. Okay,
right.
love you guys. Take good care. See you next time. All the very, very best.
Till next time, everybody.